Hey, you guys, Miss Morell here with your warm-up question explanation for March 8th through 12th. We're almost to spring break. Woohoo. All right, let's get through these questions. Number one, what is a primary role of decomposers in an ecosystem? So the key word here is decomposers. Ask yourself, what does a decomposer do? We learned in class that decomposers decompose or break down organic matter, that's dead stuff, and return those nutrients to the soil. So they help recycle matter by returning nutrients to the soil, where it's then taken up by other organisms and used. So you can eliminate A and B because they absolutely don't eliminate matter, they cycle matter. And then the matter that they're cycling is carbon and other organic matter. So the best answer is C. They cycle matter by returning carbon and other matter to the ecosystem. All right, number two. Which diagram correctly models the movement of heat, energy, and matter in an ecosystem? So we've been talking about how energy flows through an ecosystem. And we've learned that an energy pyramid, from one level to the next, only 10% of the energy makes it up to the next level. And the other 90% is used by the organism for its survival or lost to the atmosphere as heat. So you need a diagram that shows heat being given off. And of the four diagrams, this one doesn't have anything being given off. It says that heat, energy, and matter from plants go to animals, and then heat, energy, and matter from animals go to bacteria, and then just matter goes to plants. That one doesn't make any sense. B has heat being given off at all stages of the flow of energy through the system. So matter and energy go to animals from plants with heat given off. Matter and energy go from animals to decomposers with heat given off. Matter from decomposers goes, and matter and energy from decomposers goes to plants with heat given off. This one has the same as the first one, but the arrows are reversed, so it's still not right. And this one has only energy cycling through with heat and matter being given off, and that's also incorrect. Matter is not given off. So the correct answer to this one is the one that shows thermal energy being given off into the atmosphere, and that is answer choice B. All right. Number three, after a volcanic eruption has covered an area with lava, which of the following is the most likely order of succession in the repopulation of the area? So the key word in this question is succession. And we talked last Wednesday and Thursday in class about succession, which is the reestablishment of an ecosystem after a disturbance event. There are two kinds of disturbance events. Ones that completely ruin the ecosystem down to the rock, like there's not even dirt left. And then other disturbance events that damage it, but there's still soil remaining. So for example, a volcanic eruption would leave nothing but barren rock, whereas a forest fire, while yes, it's destructive, there is still soil there. So this question is a volcanic eruption. So you have to know that that would cause primary succession to take over. And then in primary succession, soil will need to be made. That's the first step in that restoration process. And the lichens are the pioneer species that will begin making that soil, so that then other small plants, mosses and ferns and things like that can come in. And then as they decompose, the soil becomes richer and richer. And then you can have grasses, and then you can have small trees, and then you can have large trees. And then you have a fully restored ecosystem. But it doesn't happen without soil. And lichens are the organism that will make the soil for you. So the answer is A. Number four, Also about ecological succession. When the Mount St. Helens volcano erupted, the blast covered much of the surrounding area with ash. Based on the diagram above, which list shows the sequence of secondary succession that followed that eruption? So we're talking about succession starting from dirt. There is dirt. In this case, Mount St. Helens, the top blew off, but there was no lava flow that would cause primary succession to happen. So if you look at the diagram, here you have Z, which is after the initial eruption. All the trees that were there at the beginning were laid like toothpicks on the side of the mountain. So they would have to decompose. And then after that happens, you would have small grasses and shrubs come in, and that would be X. And then after that, you'd have some small, fast-growing trees. That would be Y. And then finally, the climax community, which would be W. So the correct order for this one would be B. B like Bravo. So it starts with Z, and then X, and then Y, and then W would be the correct answer for that one. All right, number 5. Which of these types of organisms would most likely have the largest populations in a pond system? So this is a question about energy pyramids. We know that energy flows up through a pyramid, and as it flows up through a pyramid, there's less and less energy available to the organisms. And so that determines how many of that level of organisms we can have. So if you want to know the largest population, you're going to have to look for the population with the largest amount of energy. And we know that that would be algae. They are at the bottom of the energy pyramid. So the answer to number 5 is A, algae. All right, now let's move on to Wednesday and Thursday. I did Throwback Thursday and threw in some questions from stuff that we've had way back time machine. So I gave you a picture of an animal cell and asked you which of the following is produced when glucose is digested in an animal cell. Well, when glucose is digested, that process is cellular respiration. If you'll remember, oxygen plus glucose yields ATP energy and gives off carbon dioxide. So the answer is A, carbon dioxide. Since this is a plant cell, it can't be chlorophyll because chlorophyll is only found, since this is an animal cell, it can't be chlorophyll because that's found only in plant cells. Oxygen is not produced because it's an animal cell, not a plant cell. Oxygen is what the animal takes in, and it's the reactant produced by photosynthesis. Sunlight, also catalyst for photosynthesis. So the answer is A, carbon dioxide. Number 2, a student wants to put some plants in a window box planter. This window selected for the plants is always shaded by a large tree outside the window. What is an abiotic factor that would most likely affect the plant's growth in this location? So keyword, abiotic, non-living. So you can eliminate leaf shape and squirrel population because both of those things are alive. So that leaves light availability and air temperature. So which one of these things is going to determine how much photosynthesis can happen, which is growing plants? That's going to be light availability. So the best answer for that is B, light availability. Number 3, back to classification. The diagrams below show characteristics of monocot and dicot flowering plants. Well, wait a minute, Miss Morell, we didn't talk about monocots and dicots. You're right, we didn't. But we're going to use our SMARTicle problem-solving skills to answer this question. So here is a monocot. Mono means one, and that is the cotyledon. That's the little seed part of the plant. And so a monocot has one cotyledon, and prefix di means 2. That has 2 cotyledons. So monocots have 1, dicots have 2. Monocots have this set of characteristics, and dicots have this set of characteristics. So which picture would represent a dicot? So we need either a flower with parts in 4s or 5s, and our flower has parts in 3s or 6s. And if you'll look, that's a monocot characteristic. So it can't be the flower. If you look at the stem, the vascular rings are organized into rings versus in a monocot, they're scattered. So this answer choice, they're scattered. So that's also a monocot. If you look at branches, we don't really have anything about branches that'll tell us that. But if you look at the leaf, monocots have parallel veins and leaves, and dicots have net-like veins and leaves. And our choice A has net-like veins. So the answer, picture A, represents a member of the dicot group. So even though we didn't know what monocots and dicots were, we answered the question. All right, number 4. A rare disorder is caused by changes in a gene. Parents of individuals with the disorder have only normal copies of this gene. Which of these most likely causes the disorder? Well, anytime a gene changes, what is that? That would be mutation. So mutation is what leads to diversity in the gene pool. In this case, unfortunately, it causes a rare disorder, but it's still a genetic mutation. The parents have normal genes. They do not have the disorder. So for their child to have it, there would have had to have been a genetic mutation. So the best answer is C. And then finally, last question. In humans, glucose is kept in balance in the bloodstream by insulin. Which concept does this best illustrate? Key word here is balance. What word means internal balance? And hopefully you remember from class that that is homeostasis. Homeostasis is a state of internal balance. All right, thank you for listening. Hope this helps. If you have any questions, see your science teacher.